March 18th, 2024. All right, we're getting very, very close to the eclipse. We're in eclipse season, right? We're rounding the first quarter moon from the new moon last week. Well, the new moon earlier in the week, on around the 10th. And then we've gotten now to the 17th. We're on the first quarter moon, and we're grinding our way maybe up to the eclipse on the 25th. This is a full moon lunar eclipse that we're heading towards, which means things are coming to light, things are coming out. It's when we get past the lunar eclipse, we'll perhaps feel a little bit more implosive energy coming inwards towards the solar eclipse, but we're feeling this sort of expansive, jangly, what's going to happen. Remember the let's call it the strategy for eclipses. They tell you what's important, but they blow it out of proportion. 9 chances out of 10, 9 chances out of 10, unless you happen to be at 5 degrees of Aries or Libra, you're feeling it, but it's not going to hit you directly. If it hits you directly, you'll know about it right away when we get there. But you know what? The eclipse is next week. The important thing is we're ramping up to it. People are getting a little edgy. People are getting a little beyond themselves, which, given where people are at baseline these days, getting beyond themselves is, well, we'll see what happens. So that's the sort of general thing to keep in mind this week. Okay, people are getting a little edgy. We're building towards the eclipse. This is not the calmest particular time. People are going to be a little bit volatile and so on. Not a bad time. Don't go hide under your bed. It's the time between the first quarter moon and the full moon is an excellent time to take action, and this is no exception whatsoever. This is an excellent time to take action. We have all kinds of stuff going on this week that are worth paying attention to, not the least of which is the ingress. The sun is going to go into Aries, and it's the beginning of the astrological year, so it's a Happy New Year. By the time you get to the astrological New Year, you've already had New Year's, and you've had Chinese New Year, and then by the time you get out here, it's like, oh boy, how many New Years do we have? But it is the beginning of the astrological New Year, and that is a very energized, charged time as we really feel ourselves going forward. So the sun goes into Aries on March 19th at, I'm going to say 11:05 p.m. Eastern Time, because it is Eastern Daylight Time, which puts it onto the 20th in the UK. And I'm not going to try to figure out you guys with the time zone thing, because we do the daylight times at different things. But anyways, after the night, by the time you wake up on the 20th of March, the sun will be in Aries. It'll be springtime in the northern hemisphere. Those of you that are down below, it is autumn. Sorry. Because I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it here. The days are nice and long, and they're getting longer, and I love it. I love it. This is good weather. I like this. I like the return of the energy. And that's what we feel at this time of the year. We feel the return of the energy as the sun goes into Aries and gets to be above the horizon more than he is below the horizon each day. This is why it's the exaltation of the sun. It's the first sign where he gets above the horizon most of the day. And he will be above the horizon most of the day until that sad day when he goes into Libra in September. So the days are getting longer. The sun the days are now longer, going to be longer than the nights. And so this is the return of energy. And this happening as we're building. We're going from a first quarter moon up to a full moon. This is a great week for activity. Yeah, the eclipse gets people to be a little bit jangly. It's a pretty good week for doing stuff. It's a pretty good week for going forward. Keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. The moon is, of course, now pulling away from all the other planets. We've got a little bit of space, and we got a little bit of perspective in the sky. That's a helpful thing. Boy, is that a helpful thing. So this is not a bad time. Not a bad time. You know, people will be a little extra, and people are the way they are, and there's all kinds of struggles going on at every level. But let's not say that this is like we're gonna just not do anything because of that. We're gonna do plenty of stuff. It's a busy time. Make the most of it. We're coming away from, as we begin the week, the sun's meeting with Neptune. That's not particularly helpful. The sun conjunct Neptune, and that was on Sunday, the 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Not a very practical energy by any manner of means. We tend to think too much or too little of someone or some project, but often someone. And of course, the sun and Neptune. St. Patrick's Day, it's just the see how that goes in New York. I would have a drop of concern. This is usually a the town that has a lot of uh, people drink like crazy on St. Patrick's Day in New York City. But if you're anyplace else, well, you know how it was because this is the forecast for the day after St. Patrick's Day. That unrealistic Sun Neptune energy is now behind us as we go forward. And so, let's just look at this as being a good week for moving ahead with things as we head towards that eclipse. Relationships. And I'm thinking particularly established relationships, but not only established relationships. Relationships are going to be in focus for a lot of folks this week because Venus, the planet of love and desire and our values, is going to be opposite the asteroid Juno. Juno is about our partnership commitment. It's our sense of where we are going to invest ourselves in relationship and how we're going to invest ourselves in relationship. As I often put it, Venus is what we want, Juno is what we got. And when they're opposite to each other, there's a kind of tension, let's call it. There's a tension that is there. Because Juno retrograde out in Virgo is a little precise and demanding about what she wants. And that sort of makes us a little more precise and demanding. And, this is what we have. This is the relationship that we have, and this is the way we have to do things. Venus in Pisces, where she's very happy, it's her favorite sign. Venus loves to be in Pisces, and she's got a different take on things. She's got a little bit more flexibility. She's got a little bit more openness, a little bit, does things have to be a certain way? Venus goes on, that happens on the 19th. So we can expect this is like a Monday, Tuesday kind of thing. Monday, Tuesday, Venus. And for those who got caught up in the swept up in the tides of the sun Neptune on Sunday, what with this Venus Juno aspect in place, that might have been, because the aspect build, it's exact on Tuesday the 19th, but it was building, let's say maybe as far back as Saturday the 16th, going through that sun Neptune thing. So that foggy thing, making too much out of someone or something as we approach the eclipse. And then here's Venus Juno. So some folks may have really felt the stress of this and may really feel that they're sort of teetering on I was going to say tottering, but I think teetering on a decision point about their relationship. Well, then on the 21st, right? This is now Thursday, the 21st. And so let's think Wednesday, Thursday, Venus meets with Saturn. Now, Venus Saturn meetings are in Pisces. Venus Saturn meetings always had that feeling of being a bit of a deadline. What are we going to do? How's this going to be? All right, enough talk. What's the decision? So we have this perhaps slightly unrealistic vibe that nonetheless suggests a little bit of legitimate, for some folks, not for everybody, but if you happen to be there, this would spark up the tension between, what we have and what I really want, what each of us really wants. Then Venus meets with Saturn and it comes a little bit more like a deadline. So relationships that are at a turning point, that are at a fulcrum, a fork in the road, if you will be feeling this energy this week long. If you're in the midst of a good relationship and everything's going along fine, doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything. That'll just, that doesn't matter. If you're looking for if you're in at a new relationship, right? Like we've been toying around with the idea, we were going through that whole little list of, seeing each other, seeing other people, seeing each other, not seeing anybody, that whole list that may indicate a little bit of a deadline time of, oh, okay, so is it gonna, I mean, are we is something going on here, or are we just, I guess we, whatever you want to do is fine, Saturn doesn't care. Saturn just says make some sort of decision. If it wasn't for Venus meeting Saturn, you wouldn't necessarily feel that you had to make a decision, but you might feel like you need to make a decision. With given the sign of Pisces, I imagine that flexibility would be part of the picture. But it is a little bit of a feeling of like, okay, let us make some kind of a decision that somehow describes where we are. Okay, enough about that. I think you get the idea. And if you don't, I'm sorry, I explained it the best I could. Well, what am I going to do? Mars on the 22nd, Mars goes into the sign of Pisces. Mars in Aquarius, willing to fight for a cause. And as I said, maybe enjoys the fight more than the cause, but willing to fight for a cause. Mars in Pisces is there's two fish, remember, the two extremes. On the one hand, there is, going completely beyond the limits, right? Mars is drive and energy in the Pisces, which is really beyond limits. It's the last sign of the zodiac. And this is happening after the sun changes signs into Aries, Mars home sign. There could be a real kind of like energetic burst. It is the going beyond all the boundaries type of thing. I know I say it all the time, but this is another one of those things that'll get people to drive like maniacs, right? It's eclipse season, things are ramping up, and now Mars goes into Pisces. Some folks are going to drive like maniacs with this going on. This is a no stop signs tolerated kind of energy for a lot of people. But the other side of Mars in Pisces is the absolute dispersion of energy, right? This is the other possibility is unable to get things done at all. This kind of like, things just flounder. Pisces, flounder. Things flounder around and you can't get anything going. So it's either this, super overdrive or just puttering along. Just like puttering along. Uh, Mars loves direction. He loves to be in Capricorn. He loves to be in Capricorn because he's got a direction. Saturn says, do this. Mars goes, I'll do it. Pisces, there's no direction, no direction. So maybe Mars will just, amuse himself seeing how fast he can go. Or maybe Mars will just, flake out and just do nothing. And of course, the answer is that both, some people are going to do this and some people are going to do that. You may be Mars one day and you may be Mars the next day. There's this sort of fluctuating kind of energy. Not going to affect everybody equally. Not, it's not like this is not, the final determinant of anything or anything like that. It's just the cosmic weather. It's not your Mars. It's not your Mars. But you may see that things start off with a big bang and then right away they kind of fade out right away. We are switching though. We're switching out of Pisces season, Mars accepted. We're switching out of Pisces season, and where the sun is now in Aries, Mercury's in Aries, Venus is on her way. And so it's not, we're not going to be in this sort of Piscean drift for very long. Even Mars will get out in about 6 weeks and go into Aries. So we've got a lot of energy. We do have a lot of energy. The eclipse gives us energy. The full moon of the eclipse gives us energy, even if it wasn't an eclipse. Mars in Pisces can give us energy. So we can get a lot done. If you have some focus, bring your focus. Okay. There's a lot of energy out there. There's a lot of energy out there. Bring your focus. Do with it what you think you should be doing with it. That's what you do with this kind of energy. It's out there. Grab it and harness it for your purpose, as opposed to letting it blow you around, or, having to deal with somebody else is giving you like an earful of something. All right. I'll see you next week for a big discussion of the eclipse.